March has felt like the first JRPG month in a good while where I felt like I was really getting through things. While I felt a little like a jack of all trades and master of none at times, I had the chance to play a bunch of console JRPGs to help me get excited for this year's offerings, whether it be fun things to play in my free time or carefully crafted big titles that set the standard for JRPGs to come. My JRPG staples received some love, and thanks to my PS5 making my playtime more convenient, I may have added more things to keep in the rotation for the foreseeable future, making my daily gaming time colorful as ever as I get through a bunch of different things. It's certainly the most varied episode that this series has had in a while, so I hope you'll enjoy the JRPGs I played in March. After not being able to make time for Final Fantasy XVI last year, I've been so happy to be getting my Final Fantasy fix through Final Fantasy VII Rebirth since last month, and while I'm probably behind where most people are up to, I did manage to get into more of the open parts of VII Rebirth that really showed me how it feels like a game and not just an interactive movie, and I'm absolutely sure I'm going to continue playing into April as I continue to uncover more of its wide world. What I've loved about Rebirth so far is how full it feels, complete with quests, big wide fields to explore, and even unexpected bond mechanics, with further intricacy from finding chocobos to basically alchemy all feeling like a pleasant surprise. I wasn't someone who was bothered by the smaller scale of the original remake, but it is certainly noticeable how much wider Rebirth feels, so much so that it justifies the special joy of getting on chocobo to ride across and discover in its big world. Because of that, it actually feels closer to the exploration and open world parts I enjoyed in 15 that have made it easy to enjoy, and whether it be in Queen's Blood, mapping the world, or doing quests, it feels like a dense experience that I'm glad to be enjoying as the kind of player I am today. As I do quests and take my time to look around, that means I still have a fair bit to go. Because I'm also more into story lore than I used to be, that meant the fact that I hadn't played the in-between entry into mission Final Fantasy VII Remake's DLC no longer sat well with me, so I also took some time to get started in that has also been a lot of fun. It does have the smaller scale of Remake, but for some reason the visuals managed to somehow be that tin sharper than Rebirth, which anyone who's played knows is saying a lot. I also really like playing as Yuffie, as she's really spritey and fun to control, so I'm really excited to get her when she pops up in Rebirth, especially since I plan to keep up with Intermission as part of my April staples to help me get the most out of my Rebirth experience. Right now though, my gaming priority is Rebirth, where I've just gotten to another city full of new quests and upgrades ready to take on more story the next time I play. I've been taking it slow and steady, so I'm not much further than 10 hours in, and I guess a bunch of you are further or have already finished it, so I hope to hear what everyone's up to and your impressions of Rebirth in the comments. I'll be making a review once I'm done that I hope isn't too far off, but I'm also just glad to have tried this gorgeous game, as it will likely end up being at least one of this year's great JRPGs. I was lucky to receive a lot of things to play last month, which I'll talk about later in this video, but my boyfriend and I also ended up purchasing Granblue Fantasy Relink on a whim, and as soon as I saw how achievably short it seemed thanks to its short runtime, I had to jump into it, and I'm glad I did, as it's been a good bit of anime-flavored fun between other things. Before Relink, I was totally new to the Granblue universe, so I was relying on my trust in Cygames and how much I've loved the look of its art and trailers in my hopes that this would be a good game, and while it's not going to give the big open world feel that games like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth will, it's gorgeous, has fun action gameplay that's quick to pick up, that makes it easy to get into, and thanks to it making things as smooth as possible through hints in game if you're ever underleveled, it's easy to make progress in daily that makes it feel satisfying to get through even if you're playing at a slow pace. I do wonder if others found it quick, as I wouldn't be surprised if you could finish it within a day, but I've also heard that some of the appeal of Relink is the post-game, and even as someone who usually likes longer games, it's always refreshing to have something quick and easy to jump in, play, and have some anime fun in, and lets me feel like I'll finish at least something in 2024. I'm about halfway in at this point and will avoid showing spoilers because of that, but I can say I'm enjoying the extra character I got to help me keep going, along with its big boss battles that make it feel like you're playing a scene from an anime. It'll be joining my staples in April, as I'm confident I'll be able to get through it and maybe even review it properly if I find the time, and I hope anyone who has played or likely finished it is still having fun in this approachable look into Granblue's world. I had much more success with my staples compared to February since I managed to get into both of them, likely thanks to updates to one of them that further pulled me into a more healthy, balanced way of playing that helped me play more things overall, which is evident in this video. My staples for this month were Atelier, Resleriana, both servers, and Trails to Azure that I finally got back into after a month-long gap, so with progress in both these worlds, I was able to enjoy my time with both and not feel like one was taking away from the other that meant I could get the most enjoyment out of everything. I actually tried to give Trails to Azure more of a priority in March thanks to being disappointed I didn't get into it in February, and I'm pleased to say I've left March feeling much happier with my time with it now that I feel like I'm making story progress as I enter a new chapter. One thing I will say is that I certainly wasn't wrong about needing at least an hour for where I was up to, as that final part of chapter 2 ended up taking 3, but it featured some big events that continued to add a lot to the world, playing on Trails' strength of character and world building as it took its time to slowly build on the world's politics and change pace appropriately next chapter, with the ebbs and flows in pace allowing me to keep heavily invested as I play. I'd like to get to another chapter this month, however, at this point I'm just happy to have broken my own barrier of not playing as I look forward to seeing what happens next in this deep story as future Trails entries creep up. One of the main reasons I was able to improve my gameplay in March was the wonderful half-year update that Japanese Resleriana received that added features such as auto-synthesis and gathering that I didn't know how much I needed. Once they were in, it mentally flicked a switch for me where I felt much more comfortable throwing all my stamina at different tasks I was doing in-game rather than meticulously choosing each and everything I did that improved my overall balance with my gaming time to the point where I feel like I get to play it and other things. So even while I'm keeping up with events in both servers, I feel like I finally found a good, comfy way to be into it without it taking over all my gaming time. Since March, where I took advantage of all its auto features, I've also been able to free up more time for Rez's actual story too. I've gotten a little behind the last couple of months, so I'm by no means at the end of chapter 11 in JP or 6 in Global, but I have been making steady steps towards that I think should see me up to date by the end of this month, which will be great. I've also been able to fully focus when I play now, as I'm not playing repetitive things all the time, aside from auto battles of dungeons as my phone sit next to me, so when I do play, I play it like a console game now with podcasts off and my full focus, and therefore really enjoyed new additions like the recent Lydian Soul event that I found even more touching to be able to play in English. I'm really glad to feel like the app is in the perfect state in JP, and those updates will come west soon enough that I hope will help keep others into it as well, and as I've found my balance, I look forward to seeing how I feel with my time with it at the end of this month too. As for the rest of my gaming time, I was incredibly lucky to receive multiple codes to be able to check out the unique JRPG offerings of last month, and also to jump into a demo to help me leave no stone unturned, with mostly positive thoughts as I was able to play some things that I think are JRPGs to watch this year. In terms of that, probably the most interesting I got to look at was Unicorn Overlord that I was very happy to receive. I mostly checked out its starting moments and didn't even get to the food parts from its trailers that were truly 90% of the reason I wanted to try it. So what I didn't expect was its music and visuals on PS5 to be so captivating and make me absolutely want to play it. Even its tactical combat seems interesting, with the way you set everyone up to fight then watch them fly in that unique visual style, so while I'm still early days in, everything in it feels so cool and I definitely want to check out more of its world. It's on my list of things to come back to from this year's releases, and I feel lucky I was able to get a good look at it as it really won me over, so I hope those of you who tried it loved it just as much, as it definitely seems like it could be a frontrunner for this year. And speaking of other things I want to get back into, I also received The Legend of Legacy that I initially had mixed thoughts about in anticipation of its release after how tricky I found its spiritual successor when I played its remaster. However, Legend of Legacy seems just as great to me so far, and reminded me of the other side I loved about The Alliance Alive, which was its quirky, offbeat humor, so as I sat enjoying froggy singing and fun moments while refreshing myself on its interesting mechanics, I was able to feel why I liked this series in the first place, and its pretty visuals make it an easy sell for something I want to come back to, as I'm sure I'll have a lot of fun with all its different routes when I get into it. Much like Unicorn Overlord, it's proof that good dialogue and mechanics really can carry an interesting enough world, especially when combined with good visual style, so I also hope I can get back into it soon, and I'm glad I had the chance to find out that I want to. The last thing I received a code for in March was the Class of Heroes 1 and 2 Complete Edition that included a remastered version of Class of Heroes Heroes 2 and an anniversary version of the first. I've always been curious about this series as I used to see it pop up when I was learning more about dungeon crawlers and roguelikes, such as when I covered Adventure Academia about a year ago. Class of Heroes is its original world, although it's a first-person dungeon crawler, which I was a little surprised by, I guess thanks to how little I actually knew about it, but I got used to it quickly enough so I was able to enjoy some turn-based battles in it, even if they felt a little basic, but that also made it easy to pick up. The selling point of these Class of Heroes games to me felt like the way you could customize your party, as you could use their character templates to set your customizable members into classes ranging from mages to idols, meaning you could make the exact kind of party you want and tweak them as you find better equipment. The second game also added more detailed voice acting and story beats that make it feel like a more fleshed out world besides the party making that makes it feel more approachable of the two to modern players, especially with different characters in each. Because of their simplicity, they might not be the first things I come back to compared to the other things I mentioned here, but I did see appeal in them as things that might be fun in between games or when I'm sick and looking for something that's not too heavy to jump into. Recently, this set finally got its release date of April 26th, so I'd be curious to hear if any of you guys will try it, and feel lucky I had the early chance to play and talk about it here as I filled in the gaps to my JRPG history. Finally, if I hadn't played enough already, with the unfortunate passing of Akira Toriyama last month, when I saw a demo of Sandland pop up shortly after, I gave it a sentimental play to see if I'd like it. Toriyama's always wonderful works aside, this one also falls into the category of things I won't be coming back to anytime soon, as it didn't really show any story in the demo, and while the character designs were as they should be, it was giving me Metal Max Xeno vibes, where I feel like I'd enjoy it more if I knew more about it, but it just felt like a big open field that I had no connection to that was fun enough and showed me the visuals I wanted, but that was about it. Clearly, I played a bunch last month, so with the best part being there was a bunch to love, I hope that means that everyone's playing something fun in the moment, and there's more around the corner as we get into April. As shown, I have a lot on my JRPG plate already, after fantasizing about games I'll play in time I don't have and actually trying to continue through Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and adding Intermission and Granblue to my already not empty list of staples I'm trying to get through. It's not to say there aren't interesting things coming out this month though, with there being a few releases to keep in mind if you're looking for something new. The long-awaited Eiyuden Chronicles 100 Heroes will be coming out on the 23rd, and SaGa Emerald Beyond appears to be on my calendar for the 25th that also received a demo recently, so hopefully I'll play that at some point to remember why I wrote it down. Add Class of Heroes 1 and 2 Complete Editions release on the 26th, and there's definitely a few things coming out this month, but if I'm being honest, they're maybe not grabbing me as much as what I'm already playing. Finishing what I'm playing will be my current plan for April that will hopefully see me make at least one review video of something as well, but I'll also keep Class of Heroes in mind since I have it, along with other video ideas, demos, or anything else that pops up, so it already seems like an eventful month, especially as I try to wrap up this video to get back to playing. I hope you're all enjoying whatever you're playing, whether it's a big open field or a creative world full of enjoyable things, and I hope we're all looking forward to discovering and continuing with the great things to come in April too. Thank you for watching this video. Let me know in the comments below what you played in March and what you plan to play this month. You can like and share this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to my channel for more JRPG content like this, and ring that bell to get notifications on whenever I post so you don't miss a thing. You can check out more videos here, and you can find me on social media on X, Facebook, and Instagram, all at JRPG Jungle. Links to those will be in the description below, and until next time, thank you, bye!